The following is a segment from Session 7 of the Honestly Better Mental Fitness Show. If you would like a list of all of the segments and full sessions, please visit honestlybetterfitness.com/list. That's honestlybetterfitness.com/list.
Welcome to LH Industrial's Honestly Better Mental Fitness. I'm Mike Lomber. I'm the president of LH Industrial, standing in the middle of a breezeway in the shop in Tempe, Arizona, to get an idea of what we do behind us here. I found mental fitness a few years ago, and it changed my life. It's changed my family's life. And now we'll bring it to all of LH Industrial and recording it to put it out for us to hearing. Thank you for joining.
We'll dive into our last one. And you're growing or you're dying. And there's a lot of depth to this one, and I'm going to do my best to bring this really broad, big, powerful topic to something that's simple and graspable. But no, it is big and it is deep, and we could have probably a 90-minute conversation just on this. I don't know how we did this week. We didn't plan a theme and we didn't prepare anything, but Mike, you ended up talking about this earlier, that like the only change is, the only constant is change here, basically. And that's essentially what I'm bringing in here. And that we will be constantly changing. And then we're growing or we're dying. We're either becoming stronger by the things that happen, or we are retreating and withering by the things that happen. Back to our rainy picnic, right? Like it's either I'm embracing the rain and I'm becoming a bigger person that can have everything go wrong and still choose to enjoy myself and not let it affect my internal, or I'm retreating into myself of like, man, everything always goes wrong and this sucks and I did this and I did all these things, and I retreat internally and I become smaller. And this is a bit like every experience we have in life, we are going to expand from or retract from. And I think some events in life are so powerful that they fundamentally alter the way we see the world. Some people might call this trauma. I might just call it powerful events that fundamentally alter the way we see the world. And it could be in a powerful and beautiful way, and I might give some examples of that. Or it can be in a destructive way. And there's usually a few different reactions to that. Let me give a non-heavy example first. I ran into somebody that had an experience of someone that they met at a conference that I don't know what your beliefs are on it, and I'm not saying anything what that was true or not. But I'm going to say that this was this person's experience of the event. And so a person ran into a person that was some sort of person that had extraordinary abilities or gifts, or at least claims that they have extraordinary abilities or gifts. And they shared a message from a loved one that had passed that shook them. They're like, nobody would be able to know this. I don't know this person. This is a stranger. And they ended up sitting down and having like a 90-minute conversation that to this person was irrefutably genuine and authentic about something that they couldn't have known. And it shook this person. And when I say it shook them, it fundamentally altered the way that she saw the world. Like, she's like, if this is true, which all my experience of this moment in here says this is true, then it means all of these other things I have to see in a different way now. I have to alter the way I experience them. And this was a positive event. This was a positive example. But then you're left in two places, really. It's either I let this experience that had just happened change the way I see the entire world, which is scary, which is powerful and intense, or I fragment and I'm like, well, I can't say that this wasn't true because I think it was, but I'm still going to hold on to this stuff over here. And like we put up this wall, this internal wall between us. And I might say like we start to fragment ourselves in here. So I can still hold these beliefs over here and maybe just kind of put this one in a closet because I'm not really sure what to do with that right now. And I think we can relate this to this is a bit of a positive experience, but you can see and I think the word, like, I actually think the word, like, this was a traumatic experience for her. Even though it was a positive, beautiful thing, it was still caused a rupture within her own identity and self. It caused a rupture to her, the way that she sees the world. And many of us also then have experiences that are so powerful as well that they have the opposite effect on us, that maybe we thought the world was good, we thought people were good, and after this experience it completely changes our view of people in the world, and we no longer trust our other people or ourselves or events that happen. I see it as like a ship. Like if you're on a boat in the ocean, right, and like you strike something in there and the hull gets ruptured, you either allow it to flood the whole ship or you seal off that area to contain it, and you lose that part of the ship, but you've saved the rest of it. And I think that's a bit of what happens to us in life as we have these experiences, we have things, and we start to compartmentalize ourselves or fragment ourselves in order to preserve our view or identity of the world. And I think part of this, I might say, healing or personal growth or mental fitness is going back and reclaiming these parts of ourselves. And it's super interesting as I've seen memories come to people of things that they haven't had before, and experiences and parts of themselves. And it is a like regathering of yourself. And sometimes it's like, I don't know how to hold these two things in the same boat together, but we're going to be in the same boat together and live together and allow it to experience. And I view it as expanding the container. Maybe it's an event that you go, so some new challenge. I don't know, whatever it is for you in your life. Maybe it's speaking, or maybe it's a relationship thing, or maybe it's some job challenge or something that you don't feel equipped to do and handle. And I might say, currently you aren't equipped to do and handle, right? But then you go through the thing and it expands you. You grow into it. You grow into the type of person that is equipped and able to handle whatever this is. And that is my analogy in there. Like these things that happen within us, we can silo off and push off, or we can expand the container to be able to hold both, to be able to hold that truth. And I think sometimes, maybe especially in kids, but I think a lot as adults too, like we see oh man, I thought this thing was so hard, but then I look back and I was like, oh, it's easy. Like, it's like, no, it didn't get easier. Like you grew, like your container expanded to become larger. And I think my message in this is that when you come across challenge, you can retreat away, or you can see it as an opportunity to grow. So when you find yourself frustrated and angry and overwhelmed, or whatever it is, to embrace it, to look at it as the thing that it is that it is the thing that will be the catalyst that allows you to expand and grow. And it is this weird process. Like it's allowing discomfort within us. I think that's part of the numb and push away and the stinky feet, right? It's like, all right, pull off the boots. let's sit. We're going to sit in the room with the stinky feet, and then as we work with them and we take care of them, and as we love them, we move them, we heal them, we figure it out, and we realize like it's not so stinky, and maybe it is, and maybe it's challenging, maybe it is hard, but we learn to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, to be able to face things, I think, is at the heart of a lot of what mental fitness is. There's a beautiful quote that I probably brought in before. The measure of a man is how much truth he can face. I don't remember who said it, but that's what it is. And I think that is the fragmenting of like, well, I don't know what to do with that, so I'm just going to discount that thing that just happened over here so I can keep believing and being the way that I am, or then I go back forth. And I think that's like this fundamental fragmenting is actually what's at the health, what's at the heart of mental wellness or mental fitness or mental unwellness and mental unfitness, is and at its heart is the ability to contain. Can I hold two things, that the world is both beautiful and full of good people and hope and love, and that the world is not always kind and destructive and all this. And I think we have such a desire for it to pick one. And I think I see this in we talk about it in language, like but versus and. It's like, yeah, all those things, but this is what it really is. And there's such a strong desire in for us to make sense of the world, like to make it fit in our container, as opposed to expand our container to fit it. Right? It is all those things. And it's those things over there too. And I think when you are experiencing that inner turmoil, my guidance is to allow the things that come up to come up. Whatever it is that you feel or think, allow it to come up. It's the hot spot. It's no, my foot's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I'm just going to ignore it. No, it's a hot spot. That's what it is. You can ignore it. This is back to, you can have, how did I say it? You can have anything you want, but you can't have everything, right? You can, right here in this moment, like, I can ignore it. Right. That's true. I can have that. I can have this, but I can't have everything that I want. And so I can choose right now. I can choose. I want it better, and I want to keep moving. Right. And now here's our expectations and reality again here. Like, well, you can't. You get to pick what's most important to you. Okay. And to allow those things to come up without feeling the need to push them aside, to numb or distract, and to be able to see them as a potential for growth. Maybe even you're like, I don't even know how I'm going to overcome this, or I don't know how this is going to destroy me, but I'm just going to believe that I won't, and that eventually, maybe not today or tomorrow or next year, sometime I will make through. And to experience friction as an opportunity to grow, to expand, and to overcome. It's literally the inside of the stuff pushing on the container, and the friction is the heat and the pushing and the expanding of the container. And there becomes this way of living and being, just as Viktor Frankl showed us that there's a way of living and being with internal joy, regardless of your external circumstances. I think there's a way of living and being of actually seeing joy in the friction of like, oh man, I'm growing right now. It's super uncomfortable, really sucks. Probably prefer not to be here if I had my choice. And, okay, this is it. This is my opportunity to expand and grow, to become comfortable or even excited about the things that make you feel uncomfortable. I think people in our fitness, in the gym, they get to know that. They see like the pain of working out equals the results I want. And then sometimes they actually start chasing the pain because they feel like if they didn't feel that level of exhaustion or pain, then they didn't get all the gains that they could have got out of it. It's not actually fully true. Sometimes we start chasing the wrong thing in that, but I think the analogy is the same. The same way that the fitness enthusiast can start actually looking forward to the soreness and everything else because they know what it's going to be in the end. We can adopt the same way of life. And I think I've talked before about the truth, and like a lot of the deep philosophies and religions around the world are like about being able to hold like two truths, that the world is beautiful and that life is beautiful and death exists, and death is part of life, and actually death is part of what makes life beautiful. And then we're getting into yin and yang, and that you actually can't have life without death. Because if there were no such thing as death, then they would just exist. And we don't value the plastic flowers that are there for an eternity sitting in the dumpster. We value the ones that bloom only once a year, or the sunrise. Nobody gets up at noon to go stare at the sun, but people get up at sunrise to watch the sunrise because it only happens for a moment. It is this contrast of like beauty, of friction and tension, of hot and cold, of these things that is like where the joy of life comes from. And to be able to hold that in the moment, when you feel the friction and the expansion, to be able to know that it is beautiful and it is part of life, and to be uncomfortable is to be uncomfortable. And I would bring back our mental preparedness. And when you know that, it changes. Like when we said, this conversation is going to be super awkward. I get it. Like, then it becomes less awkward. Like, all right, yep, this thing's going to be super uncomfortable. I'm not going to like having to do this thing. It makes you less. It makes it all the more be able to embrace it. And to hold yourself together as one. I talked about the fragmenting, or just kind of touched on that too, to be able to know that you can hold two truths within yourself. You can both be frustrated and not like your kids in the moment, and really love your kids. And those two things can exist. And it's not like we have to push one away and not the other and be like, yeah, those both exist within me, and that's okay. You can expand the container to hold the two. You can be both uncomfortable and comfortable. You can be both scared and excited. You can be both, to me, like, I think we get confused sometimes that like courage is the absence of fear. Like, oh, I'm not courageous because I'm afraid. And I would say, like, to expand this container, I would say actually courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward in the presence of fear. If fear didn't exist, it wouldn't take courage to move past it. The courage is able to exist because the fear is there. And to expand the container to be able to hold both. Yeah, right. I'm super afraid. And I'm going to move forward anyways. That's the beauty of holding on to this, to allow ourselves to be without judgment. And I don't remember how I said it in the beginning. To grow through difficult circumstances. Okay. That's what I got for today.